every year we touch about and we serve about 800 million patients worldwide. And this in such a pandemic and critical time, our patients need the continuity of their medications, and many of our products are life-saving drugs. Therefore, it becomes all the more important for us as a company to ensure continuity of our production at a such a challenging time. And I think I must state that so far we have been able to cope up and manage and ensure continuity of all our products to all our patients across the world. I think it's also, one of the most unprecedented time for healthcare professionals and caregivers. The people who are fighting this battle, the virus battle in the front, are our healthcare service providers, hospitals, doctors, nurses, caregivers, and then a huge amount of support systems, which is ensuring at least the basic services, food, water, electricity, and hygiene, healthcare services on a routine basis. I think they are all really fighting this battle in a very unprecedented manner. I'm not sure if some of you are aware, but some of the countries like Spain, Italy, Germany, the people who are the most impacted is like almost about 20% of healthcare professionals are impacted because of the virus in the process of taking care of the patients. And we all know our situation in India. I think we continue to see that a lot of doctors and caregivers continue to face a lot of challenge and stigma from people and society around, and it's more of, I will say, fallacy or some of the misbeliefs they have. I think these are the people who are no less than a god in such a time, as they are trying their best to save patients and save lives by putting their own lives on the risk. So we must, and we all should continue to support in whatever manner we can to all healthcare professionals and caregivers, to ensure that if any of us we need any support uh, during such pandemic time from healthcare, from medical perspective, then we have these people who are encouraged to continue to provide their services and save all of us. Uh, Healthcare sector in generally is very seriously disrupted. Almost about 55% of global active pharmaceutical ingredients, which we call as API, and manufacturing facilities worldwide has got affected. 90 launches directly impacted, and these are the new medicines launches across the world, which the companies had planned earlier and not able to launch these new products. Millions and millions of patients are waiting for these drugs to come into market and help them improve and extend their lives. Almost about 80% of HCPs reported decline in patient volume. So you can see that it's another massive challenge that, and in such a pandemic time, um, the healthcare professionals or doctors, so to say, they are seeing a significant decline in the patient volume because all the people are worried that if they go to the hospitals, then they might catch the virus. So it's a very very I will say chaotic and a serious situation, that people who need medical help, they are afraid to go to hospitals and reach out to healthcare professionals, doctors, because there is perceived to be a high risk of getting the virus because of the thickly populated these facilities and hospitals are. A large number of clinical trials right now, which are going on across the world, they have got significantly delayed, and thereby leading to a significant impact on new drugs coming into the market. That process getting delayed. Uh, and another fact is close to about 50 pharma companies have halted their clinical trials, which are new trials, new drug development. And we all know now, how important it is to continue to innovate and find new medicines to take care of the unmet medical needs and diseases which do not have a medical treatment available yet. I think all of us, we know, while entering a crisis, one might worry about the that we have taken actions too fast. So many of us, in our individual capacity, in our managerial capacity, we have to take a lot of decision depending on the crisis and what what do we perceive and foresee the crisis to unfold. And many times we feel at the hindsight while into the crisis that did are we really acting too fast or too unrational. But then to later realize that once we are out of it, then we really realize that we should have acted faster than what we, because that could have helped us to come out from the crisis much more swiftly. I think if you see the country like India, and two classic examples, United States and India. United States, for a couple of weeks, or maybe the whole of month of March and April, or especially February and March, they continue to see this crisis or this COVID situation as any other normal virus, despite getting a lot of internal advisory from their healthcare system and their government that this is going to be a serious threat. But I think, and that was the time the countries who, like India and many other countries, who acted fast and really got into the lockdown. We can see the huge difference between some of these countries, that the countries who have gone into the lockdown are able to contain the number of cases much better than countries like Russia or Brazil or USA. Therefore, I think it is always in the times of crisis, one has to continue to make faster decisions. Right or wrong, only time will tell. But at that point of time, what is the most feasible decision seems one should take and move fast. The Novartis response, I think, some of the things, and especially from leadership perspective, we've been very clear: people first, protect and support our employees and their families. So Novartis has been extremely empathetic in ensuring the safety and security of our people, and ensuring the and well-being of our families. Uh, Most of our offices are under lockdown almost since middle of March. While the country started, like in India, the lockdown started around 20th of March. Novartis already since beginning of February asked its employees to completely take a decision whether they want to operate from home or to come to office. And also, even today, while the parts of the countries and governments are allowing offices to open, we have completely given flexibility to our associates to work from home until they are comfortable to come back to office and situation becomes normal. Also, I think to some extent, to the families, there have been a lot of investment in the tools and technologies to ensure that our associates and their family and kids, they're able to engage this tough situation while being under lockdown at home. We have invested in few tools and technologies which allows family members to remain engaged, curious, and also learn newer things. We continue to support healthcare system, and we've been, in touch with hundreds of hospitals and ensuring that the medicine supplies to our customers, to our distributors, to our health agencies, it continues, and we have been managing a great amount of collaboration and support and communication with all these stakeholders. Uh, we have accelerated and have really focused a lot in strengthening our supply chain, which is the most important and critical aspect of ensuring that from production sites, the medical products, they reach to the wholesalers and to the hospitals. So we have strengthened, in no time, our supply chain systems, and also brought some IT tools to help us manage things remotely. Uh, we have also ensured that our customers and vendors, which are are also taken care. So clearly we have extended credit lines. We have approached banks to provide funding and banking support to some of our key customers and vendor partners, where they are going through tough time because of the COVID situation. I think cash is a matter of survival in such a time. So our company has also gone into to cash preservation or conservation mode to ensure that some of the key investments, if large investment at a company level, we have decided we slow down and we reprioritize allocation of capital in some of these decisions which we have taken. So clearly, we are reviewing some of our decisions as we speak, and this has become a more of an agile approach where it is not that once we have decided to invest or to progress on a tool or a technology or a product, uh, we just we leave it, but we have gone into a virtual every week reviewing some of these investments, whether they make sense or not given the current situations. And also, I think at a company level, we started to look for opportunities on productivity or savings to generate efficiencies, so that we can free up the cost to be able to continue our R&D activities of the company, at the same time ensuring that we maintain and protect our bottom line. uh, Unprecedented response by our company and its associates, close to about $40 million of response fund for COVID countries, and this is a fund which has been put up to support CSR activities in all these countries. In India, we have already got about $500,000 of funding, and we are supporting government of Telangana and government of Maharashtra in their fight against COVID by providing PPE material kits, equipments to many hospitals, and especially the police department and the government of Telangana. Uh, at a global level, also, we have responded very quickly in terms of providing donation to the countries who need this hydroxychloroquine drug, which is seen as a potential treatment for the COVID virus. And still, the clinical trials are ongoing, but we would get to know in some time, in couple of weeks, whether this drug is effective or not. Just so that you are aware, Novartis is one of the leading manufacturer of this drug worldwide. It's a drug which is heavily used for the treatment of malaria, and was potentially seen as could be one of the drug which could treat patients with COVID. And we have ensured continuity of our trials and medical access programs in all the key regions and geographies. So Novartis response has been very swift, active, and to ensure that we make an impact where the need is most. Just some of the R&D response to share with you on the COVID research. We are leading, partnering, and supporting of the identification and progression of therapeutic candidates against coronavirus. So we are working with Berkeley Institutes of California and working on a couple of drug candidates which potentially could treat coronavirus. We are also working with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and also a couple of other non-for-profit organizations, and partnered with them in accelerating some of the compounds which are seen could be potential treatment for the COVID. And some of our existing drugs, which are medicines, which are onto the market, which also has the potential ability to fight virology related diseases. For that also, we have started trials for four of our products to check whether these medicines are making and help patients, COVID patients, recover faster. So clearly, I think while we are not into vaccines business, but some of the drug and some of the research capabilities and the partnerships we have with the various agencies, we are collaborating and giving our best in order to find a vaccine for this deadly disease. Uh, I think also one of the one of the message from our CFO, global CFO Harry Kirsch, which really touched me heavily was while many countries are opening up and providing support and funding to small, medium, and large corporates uh, for bringing business back to normal, and especially maybe in India, it is not seen as a big support, but many other countries in Europe and US, large businesses are getting a huge amount of support from various government agencies. But Novartis, in principle, took a decision that we, as an industry, are one of the industry which is least impacted from this COVID in a business perspective. Therefore, we should leave these benefits for the companies and businesses and industries which requires it more than us. Therefore, we have clearly said, and our CFO has clearly communicated to all finance professionals in the company that we should not tap any government funding or support for bringing back business to normalcy for Novartis. This money should be left for other industries and companies. So it clearly also shows that we are responding and not seeing this as an opportune time to get some support from the governments. I think clearly we have demonstrated that we can act with urgency and find innovative solutions. So, as I spoke, multiple Novartis-sponsored clinical trials are underway, and in general, multinationals are relatively slow in decision makings because it's a very matrix and a process-driven culture. But we have been able to quickly and swiftly in a very agile manner put some of these studies as quickly as in few weeks and start enrolling patients to see if these medicines they do help COVID patients in recovering faster. Um, and then we have for finding alternative vendors for multiple ingredients for our products, our medicines, and our procurement team has been doing an amazing job in really sourcing and finding alternate vendors for our supply for key components of our product. We also started now virtually onboarding our associates, and almost about now 90 people in March and about 130 people in April got onboarded on a single day in the company in Hyderabad. And so is now globally, virtual onboarding of associates, interview process. All these activities are now normal. So we have been actually very swift in adapting to the situation, and all our associates are now, I will say 95% of them are operating from home. And then people who are working on the plant and manufacturing site, they need to go to plant and manufacturing site. But otherwise, the people in the sales and marketing and all other processes, they are operating from home and still able to actually completely manage their work deliverables and ensure continuity of operations. Um, I think one of the consequences of lockdown is, I think, the GDP to debt ratio is clearly it is going to increase significantly in coming quarters as governments are on short on revenue or tax collection as the economic activities goes down, and to provide support to the marginal, to the bottom of the pyramid people, governments are actually giving freebies or providing assistance and support where it is needed, and thereby it's a double whammy for the governments, and therefore we'll see in the coming times this debt to GDP ratio is going to worsen, and this means that the healthcare systems and many other business industries will also face some of the consequences, where governments will start to come back to businesses and ask for better prices. So we would see a significant amount of consequences because of the debt to GDP ratio worsening. This happened a little bit in the year 2000, when we saw that due to the collapse, and to some extent there was a spike around 2008-9 crisis. Um, but otherwise, for years, this has been, especially from 1950 to 1960 to about 2000, it was in the range of uh, you know, uh, close to about 60%. It's been ranging between 50 to 60%, and with a lower band. But over last couple of years, we have seen, especially in the 2008-9 crisis, it has sparked, and we continue to expect now as a company that this will go to further higher levels, and thereby also pulling down the resources of the government, and increasingly for businesses it'll become difficult to do business with governments. I think post COVID, while I'm sure many of you are reading much more than some of us, and clearly I think it is going to be a different world post COVID. The future will come earlier. I think some of the, especially what COVID is doing, is accelerating some of the transformation and the changes which were supposed to come in next 5 7 years. They are completely seen, are going to get accelerated because of the COVID situation. So how to manage the consequences of the lockdown, and some of the leadership discussions and tricks and trades we'll be following is to ensure absolutely financial discipline, ensure that we continue to collect cash from our customers for selling the products, at the same time ensuring that we don't become an alternate bank to our vendors. And while we want to support our vendors and see that we continue to pay our vendors on time, but at the same time we have to also see if they need any support, then we provide them access through bank and not using our own cash. Reallocating funding to capture some of the opportunities. So we also see that there will be assets, there will be companies, or there will be potential drug treatments or chemical compounds which might be available up for sale because of the shortage of some of these startups are facing. And if they fit into our strategic portfolio, then to capture some of these assets at relatively affordable prices, and then bring these products to millions of patients in future. I think how we are also discussing that how we shape our society and future of the society. So clearly, I think preparing for the next pandemic. While I know that the post COVID right now, the we are all looking forward to that, when this whole saga or this situation will end. But clearly post COVID, I think one of the focus of all the governments and all of us is going to move into that. What if similar situation in 5, 10, 20 years comes, and are we better prepared or not? And I clearly feel that a lot of governments and individuals are going to prepare for scenarios and ensure that they are much more better prepared to handle these situations if such a crisis again hits us in any coming decades. Also, I think the acceleration of corporate social responsibility agenda, especially the humanization of companies, and we all know, I think, a lot of companies, they are product driven, and still heavily focusing on margins and profits, but not on people and building capabilities and investing in people and developing different skills. So I think a lot of investment in people is of the employees and of a company is going to come, so that they have certain skill set to be better prepared to adapt to such situations in future. I think the collaboration, especially the external collaboration and cooperation, will accelerate as from the pandemic. It is very clear that we can fight the pandemic situation together, rather than individually. Like the current ongoing partnerships on many front on finding vaccines as quickly as possible. I think it's with a external collaboration and cooperation, we can achieve it much faster than doing it individually. And I think the digitalization, AI, data enabling, and data science, touchless economy, I think this is going to just gain much more ground. We all saw that at the time of demonetization. This was one of the area which heavily benefited companies like Paytm, Google Pay, and many other emerged as the front leaders. And we all know that how things in last 2 years and some of these areas have changed, and we clearly believe that the digitalization and touchless economy will just accelerate, and what we were expecting say 5, 7, 10 years down the line to come could come in next 2 to 4 years. I will end my presentation with this slide that everything will be all right in the end. So if things are not yet all right, which is the case, then it is not yet the end. I firmly believe that, like many other personal situations, professional situations, individual situations people have gone through, I think like this also will have it. There will be a light at the end of the tunnel, but at the same time, we need to continue to stay healthy, stay at home, follow social distancing, while for India, I will say at this point of time it's a very soft situation. I think our country has done a phenomenal job by bringing the lockdown much earlier than many other countries have done, and that is why I'm sure many of you will echo with my message that we are at 100 or 110 or 120,000 cases because we had a severe lockdown. But otherwise, for a country like ours, the number could have been already in few lakhs, if not more. Therefore, I think we have reaped the benefits of a severe lockdown. It has jolted the lot of industries, economies, and businesses. But I think it was a bit to save life, and I think government is now opening up to bring some livelihood back on track. And I think all of us, we have a responsibility to ensure that we continue to follow all the safety and precautions and social distancing norms until there is a solution to the disease. And this is the best way to help society, help people around us, help family to fight this COVID crisis. So I'm very hopeful, and having been working with a company like Novartis and having access to some of the materials and informations, clearly there are more than 30, 40 compounds across the world by multiple companies are being investigated, are put into clinical trials, and we are quite hopeful that in next 12 to 18 months, access to vaccine might be available to all of us. So I'm sure all of us, we also will emerge as much stronger, much more better prepared, and much more agile and very strong from mind perspective post this crisis. So let's all hope for the best that this whole saga ends very soon and life comes back to normalcy. So with this, I hand it over back to Shripal and Aishwarya.
Thank you so much, Ganpat sir. I think this was one of the fantastic session, and to be honest, actually, this session have kind of given us insights on from the pharma company and what are the thought processes going on, and I think some of the folks would agree to this that this is something which we were not aware of, the new medicines which are coming up, the new R&Ds which are going on, right? Though everyone is uh, thinking that a lot of the pharma companies are in a rush to produce a vaccine and do the clinical trials and all. But this is a very, very useful information for all of the folks here. I think, Aishwarya, we can take up the questions for the sir to address. I think there are a lot of people who have raised hands. So,
Yes,
Zaki,
sir.
you can just kind of, once Aishwarya keeps responding, you can take it up.
Yes, sir. We have Lakshmikant Rohit who has raised his hand. Can you please go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, thank you for a brilliant presentation. This is Lakshmikant Purohit here, and My question is very simple. You guys understand the problem about COVID, the virus, and you all have brought out these medicines, and you have done a lot of corporate social responsibility related work. If it would be awesome if you could work on this challenge, because many of the societies, housing societies which are there, because ultimately we are working for the community and we are doing for the benefit of the community, and these communities reside in housing complexes and housing societies where disease transmits as a community, within the community level. So I'm in Mumbai and we are facing this challenge. So the information, there's an information overload, like what are the operating procedures that we should follow when a person is coming into the society, whether we should allow, whether we should not allow, this is how he should be disinfected, what are the various ways in which the person can be disinfected before he comes in, or you just don't allow. If you allow the material to come in, then this is how it should be done. So there's a whole lot of things going on, and everybody is acting in their own ways. So if you could as a kind of a CSR activity, if you could take up this kind of challenge and just publish that learning, being product agnostic, that okay, these are some of the things which from which you can take an inspiration and make your SOPs for your housing complexes. And you know what, this would be applicable across India, not just to one or two societies in Mumbai. So that would be something really awesome. So I invite you to consider this problem statement or a challenge. Thank you. That was all from my side.
So thank you, Lakshmikant, and I think you're absolutely right that right now every society, every business, every institute is trying to find their own ways to manage. But at the same time, I think we do have the ICMR body, which is actually consolidating all these inputs based on the research, based on the specific studies. uh, I have not seen, but I do believe that there are certain operating procedures which have been released by the government for societies, for businesses, for shops to open, and how to follow social distancing and movement of material and related guidelines. What I will do is I will take this as one of the topic, and we are working with government of Telangana closely. So we will actually give inputs to them and check if there is any such materials, or already if the teams are working, and if not, then how companies like Novartis can partner with them and share our experience and research on this.
Thank you so much.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. We have our next question from Ajay. Kindly unmute yourself and please put forth your question.
Hello. It's Anish.
Okay, fine. Yeah, Anish, you can go ahead.
Yes, sir. My question is now being from the accounting world, sir. The question, the basically the most of the accountants from India as well as abroad are asking a basic question that the post-COVID, the valuation of accounting is going to change mostly. The way we were treating the accounting treatment before COVID is now going to be changed because the enactment of IFRS rules in Indian accounting standard, that is Ind AS, as well as the US GAAP. So how do you see the accounting frame getting changed, and with that the technology inserting in that? So how do you see the accounting going through that, and the new methodologies such as conservatism and other stuff like being evaluated or being changed in future? How do you see the whole scenario regarding this?
So I think so. I'm not. I must acknowledge that I'm not very up to date on the accounting standards, especially whether there are guidelines already on COVID-related costs and investments or expenses. But I do believe that at some point of time, ICAI and other accounting bodies will come up at a country level, and there will be specific guidelines on treatment of expenditure or investment or situations, which is leading to change in the books and the business. So there will be some specific accounting guidelines coming out for especially treating expenses or some certain items during this period. So that is one part. I think on the second part, on IFRS or COVID related, will the pandemic will result in changing some of the account principles. accounting principles, I believe might not be the case, because this is more fundamental than situational, and our principles of counting and the systems, I think they are pre-COVID, post-COVID remain same. But yes, indeed there will be certain guidelines which will have instructions that how certain items or transactions during COVID phase are managed. On the other side, I think
Hmm.
acceleration of digitalization as we continue to speak, I think will happen. A large part of automation is going to come, and clearly, the accounting piece is going to get further disrupted. We already have a whole lot of automation in our processes with robotics and AI and data digital impacting it. But what I also believe, and this is, with the years of experience, I clearly see that the demand of our professionals, or accounting and finance professionals, it only increases every time there is a new technology or a new tool comes, like it was SAP or ERPs in 2000s, and now the data and AI driven accounting and softwares, the demand for finance professionals multifold increases, because yes, while the talent which in the old way were managing, now the same finance skill sets will be needed to shape and manage and run the new systems. Therefore, I think the inherent knowledge of accounting and finance principles will be always core. Technology might change, ERP systems might change, the way we capture transactions might change, but the people who shape these technologies are going to be largely the finance professionals, because that's a core domain knowledge, and that will be required in any scenario.
Okay, sir. And sir, do you see that same problem in the legal network, means the framing of, as you are company secretary, then the new laws will be enacted for post-COVID for the precautionary basis regarding the emphasis of maintenance of some specific inventory, then there should be no more losses to the vendors for the subguide protection and that, because currently if we see that vendors and the distributors has seen a huge ton of loss because the perishable items of being in FMCG industry or even in pharma industry, now the inventory is being going out and the due dates of that, basically the uh, periodical expiry dates, then these are the period where the distributors are facing losses. So such can't be taken in future, the measures can be taken for that. Do you see that by enacting some laws and all that stuff?
So I think there will be learnings in every field, and including in the legal as well, where the our contracts in future would start to factor in, if there is a situation like this, then how the contract is managed. Right now, largely COVID is seen as a force majeure event, and therefore it falls into that category. And this is how it is seen. Still there are a lot of arguments, debates going around, but I fully agree that in future we will have more clarity in our contracts, and we will be actually calling out that what happens if a pandemic or a crisis like COVID reappears, then how do we manage some of our obligations with each other in the contract.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for your kindness and answering.
Most welcome, Lakshmikant. Yeah. Anish, sorry.
Yes.
Most welcome, Anish.
Yeah. Wasim, you have been unmuted. You can go
Mm-hmm.
ahead with your question.
Okay. I would like to ask two questions. First one is based on your vast experience, what advice would you like to give to all of us to achieve as much as your success? And my second question will be you must have taken many critical decisions during your journey. If you were given a second chance, what would you do differently?
Okay. So I think first question, that clearly some of the advices I will give, and that's advice for me as well, for all of us. I think first is to ensure that we continue to stay at home, follow social distancing, and ensure safety and well-being and good health of all our family members, self, and around the society. So it is the most important thing that we should all of us ensure. The second is a completely unprepared or a situation none of us we have experienced. So continue to be empathetic with the family members and with the people around, and in whatever manner you can give back to the society and help others, we should do. The third is also continue to remain curious and see alternate ways, and see, like, in terms of your progressing while when the exams will happen, whether it is going to get postponed or not. I think you should continue your learning journey and continue to focus, in an uninterrupted way, as before, to ensure that you do not lose sight of the once the COVID is gone, then you are back to coming back to exams, and therefore I think your learning journey must continue, and you should not actually compromise on that. um, so clearly, I think these three, four things, and I know there are limitations of working in front of computer versus sitting in a class in a coaching center, and directly interacting. But I think we have to use whatever best tools are available with us in such a time, and materials which is available, and continue to remain in touch with friends over phone or WhatsApp or other communication tools, to ensure that you also do not miss on the learning opportunity by collective studying. So clearly, I think you have to find alternate ways to see that how best you can still continue doing your activities and continue your learning journey. I think in terms of my career journey, and it has been, and I must, maybe, I can take 2 minutes to just describe it. I think I was a failure student, and I got supplementary in my class 8th. So I was not in the best of my academics till class 7, class 8th. I actually did all my schooling from Hindi medium, including my CA exams. I passed in Hindi medium, and maybe, I come from a town which is very small, with 50,000, 70,000 population. Now, the 25 years back, it was half of it, and hardly any support on coaching. So I think one event turned my life. I got my supplementary exams, and I saw my father really feeling very sad, because he was professor for the government college in the town, and his son getting supplementary and doing so poor. So I let down him with the supplementary, and before that my academics were very poor. So I think that was the time, I decided that I will give up my give in my 100% from next year onwards, not to see my father and family being let down because of my poor studies. And thereafter, I will say, it has been a V type of situation for me, where I got more motivated when I cleared my exams, and I actually started to do very well in the studies. Thereafter, I never looked back, as I continue to get a lot of encouragement with my better performance. And actually, then uh, CA was, I will say, there was no other choice in my town, and I was more of a commerce student than a science. Therefore, I chose CA, and I must say, I think some of us, three or four of friends of us, we used to study and used to trust and have a very healthy competition amongst all of us. And all four of us, we actually cleared CA in the town where there was hardly anybody who cleared in last 10 years. All of us, we cleared both groups first attempt, and then completed CS as well. But one thing I would like to change, and I've been fortunate to, I must say, that to have very good managers in my first couple of jobs, and that has shaped me a lot. Whatever I am today, I think I've learned a lot from my managers. First few managers have been great in helping me to shape my learning curve to inculcate right behaviors, collaboration, to have a very healthy competition. So some of these core basic principles they have taught me. After my family, I'll say my managers actually played a critical role in shaping what I am today. I think one thing I would like to change, if I have to rewrite my career, and I would say um that I would have loved to actually do higher education or masters in my studies, as I clearly feel. And maybe another thing is to yeah, maybe this is the piece where I feel could have helped me in building a much more robust knowledge base at the very early of my career. Uh, so that is one thing I feel always that could have helped me uh, do much better than what I am today. But I'm extremely I must say I'm satisfied, happy, contented, feel always fortunate, and much more privileged. So I am thankful to all my family members, my parents, my managers for what I am today. And I think being humble, being staying on ground is very important. And one learning I have, and one thing to share with all of you, there is no match of hard work. So, one needs to continue to work hard, be sincere on what you're doing, and be passionate about what you want to be. I think the hard work and efforts will pay back handsomely over a period of time. May not be immediately many times, but over a long time, they pay you back very handsomely. One very small thing, since many of us are accounting related. When I joined the job with Reliance, I was put up in accounting, hardcore invoice processing job, which even then everybody used to see as a absolutely dirty job, or bottom of the pyramid job. But I took it seriously. I had no choice, first to say, but I always respected that, if you are paid well, or if you are paid, then you should respect your job, and you should do what you have been given. So for almost 1.5 years, I was just doing invoice processing while many other friends were in procurement and many other fields. And my manager told me that, Ganpat, you should just focus on what you're doing and do it well, period. There is nothing called a good or bad job, and there is a learning you can make in every task or activity you do, or every area you have chosen to work. So 1.5 year actually gave me so much knowledge about the accounting and where it is hitting, in which trial balance line, and from where the data is coming, that after 1.5 year, in couple of audits discussions, despite being having a manager who was a trial balance owner for in my Reliance company for about 3,500 crore of trial balance, I was knowing nuts and bolts of that. It was a cost trial balance, and the cost came from all the invoices. So I was knowing each and every component, that from where it is coming, what is the tables we can go and get the data. And then I realized that how important it is for one to actually have all these experiences as part of your base. Even today, what I did in first 2 3 years in Reliance, which was hardcore accounting, invoice processing, trial balance, balance sheet, all these activities, they help me today in all my managerial and financial decision making ability. So it is important. There's nothing called a good or bad job. Whatever is given to you, one has to respect it and make learning out of it, and make an impact, and leave your impression in that, that you can do it differently and better than others.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience. I believe that this will be very helpful for all the students who are listening to you right now. Thanks.
Thank you.
We have Sandeepan. Please put forth your question.
Good evening, sir. It's an honor to be in touch with you. So, I have a question here. Like, in this COVID situation, we see.
Sandeep, your voice is breaking. It is not clear. Sandeepan. Yeah.
Am I clear now? Is it?
It is breaking actually. It is not very clear. I'm not sure, Aishwarya, if you can hear him well.
Uh, Sandeepan, you can instead write your question. I'll just deliver the question to sir.
Meanwhile, you can take up other questions, Ashwarya.
Yes, sir. Sandeepan, please write your question.
Sure.
I'll take your question. Yes, by the time I'll take the questions that are there in the text box. Uh, yes. So, sir, we have one of the questions. One second. Let me unmute everyone. How to analyze a pharma company? What are the key financial parameters to invest in pharma?
Okay. So some of the key parameters, and maybe the success of a pharma company depends on the amount of investments they are making on research. That is where a company will go on a very long, I will say, longevity in terms of their continuity in operating as a business. So I think for pharma, it's an innovation, it's a research and development, drug development driven industry. Therefore, one of the key parameter everybody should look into that how much a company is investing back in its research and development program. So clearly, that is one of the important parameter that all the investors, the people who want to look of investing, in a pharma company. The another piece would be absolutely around how strong is their R&D or product pipeline, because in pharma the research generally takes anywhere between 2 to 10 years. Therefore, it is important, it's important to see that how strong is the pipeline, the new drug pipeline of a company. uh, so clearly that's another very important aspect one has to look. And then some of the other parameters, and it's always that this the reputation and the management. I must say, I think these three things are very important to look for while investing in any pharma company, because in such times or in any trying times, you will see that investments many times actually reduces to 20%, 30%, or 10% of your value. And often this is not because of a pandemic or a crisis, but it is because of the poor management and the leadership and the integrity and ethics demonstrated by the owners of the company. So therefore it will be it and it should be very important aspect, while and this ensures your capital protection. While you might not get returns as handsome and as in some other cases, but in a long run you will be in a much better position if you invest in a company, whether in pharma or outside. Ensure that you have a very sound and ethical and trustworthy management with a very solid track record.
Thank you, sir. Sir, since we've gone YouTube live, there are a couple of questions from YouTube as well. Uh, Being as procurement head, what are the focus points we need to ensure for pricing strategy, inventory, and finished goods during COVID-19 or any?
So there are two aspects of pricing, and this is maybe less related to Novartis, and in general I'm sharing my experience that two things. One is the long term partnership, collaboration, and the relationship vendor customers have. And due to a COVID situation, I think neither side should make or exploit this as a way to make extraordinary profits, because then they won't last long and you also lose your reputation. So this is also not as an opportunity time to extract money or extract more profits from your customers or from your vendors. So continue to be ethical and respect the relationship one has with its customers and vendor partners. So that's very important. One should not be short-sighted by the opportunity thrown, and to get swayed and lose the long-term trust and reputation which one has built with years of hard work and good work. I think second is to also, there is no harm in re-evaluating some of your decisions, some of your pricing strategies. While you, if there are opportunities because market presents, there is no harm in going back to your suppliers, your customers, and say that, look, I have been buying this material from you at X rate for years, and now the market is offering at half of the price. It's a dynamic situation. To continue to remain in business, you need to buy at half the price. Otherwise, your shop will get shut because you will no longer be competitive. Therefore, it is important to first give a chance to existing partners to see that if they can come up to market dynamic linked pricing. And if not, then you have to look for alternate suppliers, partners, because otherwise you will be thrown out of the business and your prices of your finished product will never be competitive.
Thank you, sir. Does Novartis hire CPA?
So we do hire CPA, CA, MBAs, and finance professionals from any reputed institutes. And we do have about 700 finance professionals working in Hyderabad. And we continue to hire almost 50 to 70 finance professionals every year.
So we have a question from Sandeepan. Do we see a need to review the BCP strategy, seeing the COVID situation, where we are not able to get out of our homes?
Indeed, yes. And it's a very, very good question, Sandeepan. And I think it is important that all of us individually and professionally and from scenario planning perspective, it is important for us to have a response plan for a couple of scenarios, and don't just go with one school of thought, and be open and be curious to see and put, I will say, very diverse views on the table and scenarios on the table, and see that how what you would like to respond in those scenarios, so that use this time to think and plan that how you would like to respond to some of those scenarios. And one of the scenario could be, as Sandeepan is saying, that yes, if you are, while you cannot be house locked, in a sense that yes, you can move within the society, but if the lockdown again comes back much more severely, if the curfews are put up outside, then how do you manage yourselves? And if this is like in 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, then are you prepared? Are you equipped to handle that situation? And what will you do to actually be better prepared? So I think while the some parts of the country is just getting a little bit coming back to operations normalcy, but it is important to be prepared for a couple of scenarios.
Thank you, sir. What are the skill sets Novartis look when hiring people in finance?
So we look for people with solid academics and knowledge, and we also do look for talent who's agile, who's curious, and can and comes with different skills. We also do look for people who are much more collaborative. So clearly, academics is definitely a 30 to 50% weightage, but then few other aspects are equally important, and communications also plays a very important role uh, in selecting a talent.
Thank you, sir. What are the strategy being as leader
So
has
Aishwarya, we are up on time. Sorry, I work for a Swiss company, so I'm punctual. Maybe we can take in it, because I have another call at 6:15.
Yeah,
So
I think
we can
Aishwarya,
take one or two more questions if you don't mind. And
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
I think Aishwarya, you can take last two questions because sir is already. I think we have surpassed the time.
And you
Sure, sir.
can
Sure,
call
sir.
me with my first name. I work for a multinational company, and we have a culture of calling it by first name. So please call me with my first name, and I would absolutely love that, rather than calling me with sir. So that's how for 10 years, 11 years in Novartis I've been taught. So just yeah, I'll be absolutely
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, please
So
take the
there are,
questions. Yeah, Ashwarya.
yes,
This
sir.
is like an education session, so I thought everyone would address you, sir, instead of Ganpat.
No, no, absolutely. No, no. I think the respect comes in the heart, and respect is maybe yeah words in our culture it is, but maybe working for a company like Novartis for 11 years, we call our CEO or immediate manager. So boss, sir, manager, all these words are completely out of our dictionary.
I think the students who are attending this, so guys, whenever you join the corporate, and I remember my Infosys head also used to tell me that Sripal, we should always call with the names, not with the sir or madam, right? So this is a good etiquette, guys. If whenever you join your first job, I think this is what you need to address the leaders. Aishwarya, you can go up with the questions, please. Last two questions, and I think
Yes, sir.
already surpassed the time. Yep.
We have a question from Risha. What sort of leadership style do you have? How do you persuade people to best achieve the organization's objective?
So we did couple of I will say 360-degree feedback and few assessments on the leadership style. I will say um, it comes in the box of agile leadership, and this is where adapting to a situation and finding alternate ways. So I think one thing in all the feedback from my managers, my team members comes back to me. I think staying calm in the times of crisis and finding a solution for a problem. I think that is what the type of leadership people and the team members and managers they say that I do have. So clearly, having different scenarios in mind and finding a solution to any given situation, that is what people say that is a leadership style. But otherwise, I remain continue to be very collaborative, polite, humble in office, and with a lot of respect to colleagues and the people who are working in the company. And so I think these are basic I will say traits of being a good human leader.
Like the last question of the session. Mm, what are the strategy being as finance and legal head and responsible citizen of India we should ensure for more production facilities or to attract foreign investment with current infrastructure?
So I think few things, and I think I must say that I've been fortunate to work for a company like Novartis, as I said. Uh, so one is I think we have to continue to practice very ethical business policies, and I think this is where um, it is important. We all know, I think in our country it is difficult to do business without going unethical, especially when you deal with government agencies for approvals for tax related matters. But as we all know, I think the more and more digital is coming, and more and more openness and transparency is coming in the systems. I think we should push all our clients, companies, and where we work in the ethical direction. So that would definitely increase a lot of trust and respect for the country and as a place to do business. So clearly, I think that is definitely a one area where, as a country, we continue to not so do well. I think in terms of opportunities, I feel while the COVID crisis will have its pain felt on the economy, but we will do have a lot of positives coming because of COVID on the manufacturing and other sides. And it's also great to see how country like India, who is backbone for many industries, especially IT, ITS services, IT enabled services, continue to manage operations. Most of the companies continue to do reasonably well and continue to deliver on the work while most of us and most of the people are working from home. So I think it's a great agility as a country we have shown, and So far, we have managed the lockdown well. There will be new sectors which will open up, in especially in manufacturing side. We could see a lot of things coming the way of India because we continue to be a very democratic country. And I think this area is clearly where I have seen that the the ethics and the compliance and the respect for compliance and processes is seen as a very important aspect. I think we have tons of talent, like many of you are on the call. In terms, and one of the reason why companies like Novartis has office in Hyderabad and not and in any other part of the world, and India, Hyderabad, stroke India, is because of the talent and the skilled and educated and strong professionalism and the communication skills our people do have. So clearly, I think India is seen as a global talent hub, and that is why all the big multinational companies have set up operations, and therefore I think I clearly see a lot of bright future for all of us, and this COVID will make our country much more stronger.
Thank you so much, Ganpat sir. And I think I will end this session with my question. This is a question from my end. I know you work in different time zones. So Sweden, you have you have UK, then you have India timing, then Middle East, Pacific. So what time Mr. Ganpat wakes up in the morning, and what is the schedule of Ganpat? Because I have asked all the leaders their daily schedule. So I just want to know, because being a company which is like having operations almost across different time zones. So how is it you're able to manage this, and what are the challenges you take it up in your daily schedule? And first thing is, when do you wake up early morning?
Yeah. So I used to be early riser, especially in my academics time. I used to get up at 3:34 and finish my studies by 8:39 or 9:30, and then play for the whole day. But I think over the last couple of years, especially in the global role for last 1.5, 2 years, my work goes until almost 9:30, 10, at times till 10:30. So in between, you know, the dinner gets over. So yes, it is a little bit of different schedule than 2 years back when I was in a more local role. So yeah, so I am actually by default now have become for last 2 years a late riser, which is like by 7:38 I get up, and the office starts at 10, 10:30, 11. So I have that flexibility that my office meetings and work starts at 10:30, 11, and goes till 10, 9:30, at times 11. But also I must say, I think Novartis gives so much of great flexibility to manage our work. And if it is not that you have to be in office, so there are a lot of other tools and technologies and facilities which are available. So I can work from home without COVID. Even before, I used to work 1 or 2 days from home, so we don't have to go to office. And we have a lot of tools by which you can do virtual meetings and connect. So that way, I must say, I think company gives me a lot of flexibility to manage my day as well. And I think what is important is how you manage your work. And if you continue to manage and do your work, whether you take 4 hours or 6 hours, it doesn't matter. If you're completing the task, then that's more focus point. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ganpat. I mean, now I'm not calling you sir, so though I have always addressed you by that, and it's an extreme honor, and we are really proud that as in Simandhar Education, we have you here addressing the students, and I know the curiosity among the students and all, and we are really happy to have you here, and I'm really happy actually to finally bring you here and kind of address the students. I know how much difficult it is to manage their time, and still you have taken out that time. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Over to you, Aishwarya.
Uh, Thank you so much for sparing your time, and thank you so much for enlightening everyone with your words of inspiration. That means a lot. Thank you.
Most welcome, Ashwarya and Shripal. I think was both of you must be little on the edge that I was not responding to your calls or emails during last 3 days, and especially on Tuesday or Wednesday. But the work pressure was so much that I could not respond on time. But I was clear that I am not going to miss this opportunity to connect with student and share my experience, my career journey, and how we are managing in our company in current crisis. So I hope the students um, found the session valuable, and the amount of time they invested, they got something back. So yeah, wish everyone good health, and stay safe, stay home, and best wishes.
Wish you the same, sir. Thank you,
Wish you the
Ganga.
same, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot for attending. Thank you.